Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Colleen and today I wanted to work on something that may help you give a perfect little gift for Christmas. So if you're a canner or if you're someone who has just a few pieces of equipment at home and you'd love to give a homemade gift, this could be the right thing for you to do. Today we're going to make Christmas jam and I'm going to gather everything up and I will be right back. Well, it looks like I've got a lot of stuff out here on my counter, and I do. There's quite a bit. It does not need to be this much. You can make any kind of jam that you would like to make to give for gifts. This one is just like a pepped up version for the Christmas season. It's wonderful because if you can give this gift in advance, then whoever you're gifting it to can use it through the holiday season. And I think that they will be impressed and you will look really clever. So I looked up lots of different recipes for Christmas jam, thinking that there had to be one that was super simple out there. And none of them are very elaborate, but some of them measured by cups and some of them by ounces and other ones by grams. And in Canada, all of our food stuff comes in grams or milliliters, and in the US it all comes in cups and ounces and quarts and gallons. And so I trying to make it as simple as I could, I just went to my fruit pectin, which I'm going to use to set this jam today. And I looked up cooked jams, which is on the little leaflet inside our fruit pectin box. And it says that to make strawberry jam, which this primarily, today we're making it with strawberries and cranberries and a bit of orange. So I went to the strawberry jam one and I read, and I need 3 3/4 cups of prepared fruit. So I am going to take and open my bag of cranberries. This is a 340 gram bag, which I think is right around the 12 ounces. So that's a cup and a half. I'm going to put them in this bowl. These were frozen cranberries and they're about halfway thawed. You could wait for them to thaw all the way if you'd like to. This is a bag of frozen strawberries, 600 grams, which is about 20 ounces. And I'm going with whole strawberries for this reason. So at the grocery store today, I could buy this container, this skinny little container of strawberries, which holds 10 ounces or 283 grams was $5.99. Or I could buy the frozen berries, which were just as well, 600 grams or 20 ounces, so double the weight. I could buy these for $5.99. I know that I've said before in other videos that shop that freezer aisle, because the food that's in that freezer aisle is picked right at the peak of its ripeness, and then they are flash frozen. So you don't lose a lot of nutrition in frozen food, and very often you will find it to be quite some bit cheaper. And that is the case with frozen berries. And if you watch the sales, you can get the frozen berries much cheaper. If you're using them for smoothies and so forth, frozen is great anyway. And for making jams, frozen works just perfectly. Now, I'm going to open this bag. These are whole strawberries, and I'm going to dump them into juice and all, because these are partly thawed too, into this bowl. And I can already see I probably have too much fruit, which is fine because I'll just make an additional batch. And I'm going to put about half of this orange in there, maybe a little more, but I want some of the rind off it first. I've washed it really good, which you need to do with oranges because you're going to use the rind, and so we don't know who's handled it or what might have been put on it to keep it, preserve it longer in the stores. So I make sure that I wash all my citrus really well before I put it in the fridge, and then I wash it again when it comes out of the fridge when I'm getting ready to use it. Just not worth taking the risk, people. Just not worth it. So I'm looking for about 2 teaspoons of rind. I don't want to go deep into the pith part. I just want the bit of rind, and this is a good sized orange. So I am just working my way through it, and I think that's plenty. So I've got quite a good little scoop here. I'm gonna throw that in the bowl, and I'm just gonna carry on because all of these things pretty much have to go in the bowl. Today I am working with the liquid Certo or fruit pectin. You can definitely use the dry. Most people have better access to the dry, so use whatever you're comfortable with, and just make sure that you're measuring your fruit accordingly. I need 1/4 cup of lemon juice for this recipe, and I am going to cut this orange in half, and I'm going to get my old-fashioned juicer here, and I'm just going to juice about, I guess, about 1/2 of this orange. Now, this is one of those recipes, because I'm not measuring it exactly, that you're going to end up with more fruit than you need, but definitely don't throw it out. It's got lemon in it, it'll preserve it. You could make a second batch, or you can put all of the leftover ingredients in a jar with a good seal in the fridge, and you can use them on pancakes or waffles or something for the rest of the week. So don't throw that out. There's something pretty special about getting a homemade gift, or especially a cooked gift, that you know somebody went out of their way to spend some time getting everything right for you. And I think that when I receive a gift like that, I really appreciate it, and I'm sure other people do too. And not everybody, you know, cans or preserves, so giving them these gifts is really special. And you'll see that it doesn't take an awful lot of time, nor does it take an awful lot of equipment. We need about 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. I'm probably going to go a little less. I'll go about 1/8. I'm grinding it fresh, so it's a little more powerful. So, and then we need 1/4 teaspoon each of cinnamon. Whoa, and I can see my cinnamon's getting low. Good thing I have more. Cinnamon and cloves. So all the Christmas flavors are going in here. And this doesn't look like much yet, but kind of a mess. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to read the instructions to make sure that I am putting everything in there at the right time. I've got all my ingredients in here now, so I am going to take out my hand blender. You could use a food processor, or even your potato masher would work. This just takes some of the time out of it. So I'm going to do that, and when it's all blended up, I will be back. Now I've got everything settled on my stove. I've got my canner turned on. Now, if you don't have a water bath canner, not to worry. This pot that I'm going to cook in could also be used to water bath can any kinds of jam or jelly. It just has to have enough room so that the water can boil over top of the jar. If you don't have enough, a rack to put in the bottom of it, or if the pot's not tall enough for a rack and the jar so that the water can boil over top of it, just put a kitchen towel in the bottom of the pot. We just need a barrier between the bottom of the pot and the bottom of the jar so that it doesn't do this and break the bottom of the jar when it's boiling. So think about that. You can put something in the bottom. So you don't need special equipment to do this. So I hope that is helpful to you somehow. Now, I'm going to measure out the fruit into the pot, and we need 3 3/4 cups of prepared fruit. And so we're going to call that 1. And because you're using fruit pectin, you want it to be pretty accurate because otherwise it won't set for you. I'm not quite as concerned because I'm using cranberries in here and they have a lot of natural pectin anyway. But still, it's good practice to follow the recipes for the best results. And there is 3 cups. And now I need 3/4 of a cup, which is right there. 3/4 of a cup. And I have not quite a half a cup of fruit left in the bowl. Nope, I don't have 1/4 of a cup. So that'll give you a good idea of the measurements. And I'll make sure that all of the measurements are in the description box below the video. Right over there to the side, I think it's this side of the video, there's a little down arrow that takes you down to the description box, and all of the recipes for all of my projects are in the description box below. Or if it's not my recipe and I'm sending you somewhere else, that information is down there too. While you're over there near that arrow, please consider hitting the bell, the subscribe button, the like button, and like this video. It's really helpful to me if you do that. So over here in this pot, we have 3 3/4 cups of measured fruit, and we have measured everything that's required in the recipe. The lemon juice is in there, so we have all the juices in there, and now we need 7 cups of sugar, and this is going to go in there. I know it's sugar heavy, but it is also delicious. On the stove with my canner, which I've started, is my small pot, and I've got the seals for my jars in some water there, and I can hear it starting to bubble. So I am going to just reach over and shut that off. Now, the new canning guidelines say that you don't have to sterilize your jars anymore if they're going to be in the water bath for 10 minutes or more, or if they're going to be pressure canned, and that you don't have to, most of the companies say you don't have to boil your seals anymore. I still like to bring them at least up to a boil and then shut them off to use them. I don't have failures. It happens so rarely I don't even count it. I've had one this year out of, I don't know, 300 or 400 jars, 350 jars maybe, and I didn't notice the seal had a defect in it, or I wouldn't have used it, obviously, and then I wouldn't have had a seal. Wouldn't have had one fail. Okay, so this needs to go onto the stove, and we're going to bring it to a full rolling boil, and I'll bring you along for that too. Now here I am at the stove, and I am going to just continue to stir this. It takes around 5 minutes probably. You don't have to be constantly stirring, but you definitely don't want that sugar to stick to the bottom. And I'm going to bring it to a full rolling boil, and when it gets there, I'll show you what that looks like. You can see that it's starting to get really hot. So this might be a good time for me to give you one more tip that will help to make you more successful. I am going to add, you can see the foam starting to gather on the top. And that's just the air from the fruit coming out of the fruit because it's been heated. So I'm going to stir in a teaspoon of butter, and that will help the foam to settle down. And it won't affect your ability to can, nor will it affect the taste of the fruit. So don't be afraid to give yourself that little tip. I don't use it a lot because, quite honestly, we love the foam that comes off of the jam. When I take the foam off the jam, I put it into a bowl, and we use it the next day or that day on just toast. Homemade bread with fresh jam on it is just the best. Now you can see it's boiling, and I can't stir that boil down. As soon as I go through it, you can see it's boiling behind it. So at this point, I'm going to set my timer for 1 minute. And we're going to let that cook at a full rolling boil like that for 1 minute. And I'm going to keep stirring it the whole entire time, because this is where it can get dicey. I'm going to just turn it down a wee bit, but not much, because we want to keep it boiling. But it can get quite splashy, if that's a word. It can bubble up like a little volcano and spit all over you. So it's not a bad idea to have a long handled spoon for this process. And we'll just keep stirring. So seriously, yeah, you only cook it for 1 minute. And then I'm going to remove it from the heat, and I'm going to add the fruit pectin to it right away. Now I've just removed it from the stove, and I have the package of liquid pectin here, and I'm just going to pour it in and stir as I do. Oh, it smells so good in here. And I tasted it already, and it tastes just as delicious as I remember it. I don't know why I only make it at Christmas time. Maybe because, you know, it used to be that you could only get cranberries at Christmas time, but now you can get them all year long in your freezer section in your grocery store. And if you have a look, there's very little foam left on here. Now I am going to stir about every minute for the next 5 minutes, just so that I can make sure that the fruit doesn't float all to the top and the liquid go all the way to the bottom of the jar. It's nice if it sits pretty in the jar, and I will get a spoon and a bowl to remove the little bits of foam that might gather around the edges, and I can see there is a little bit. I'll move it all into one area and I'll remove it, and then I'll stir, and I'll do that over again. And then I've got my jars sitting in the sink. They're soaking in hot water, ready for the process. So I will come back when I'm ready to put them in the jars and get them in the canner. Well, here I am, and I've been stirring pretty continuously, well, not continuously, but about every 30 seconds probably. And I believe that I'm in a good position now. The reason that I keep stirring is because the fruit has so much air in it, and when it's heated it expands and it pops the fruit up to the top. As everything starts to cool, the fruit is then sitting gelled on the top. So we want everything to kind of be mixed together as it starts to cool, so that it stays down in the jars. So this is good. I have only removed the tiniest amount of foam, and just a little bit, and I can already see that it's setting, even though this isn't entirely cool. And it's delicious because I've already tried it. So now I'm going to just put it into the jars. I just have little 1-cup jelly jars, and I have them heated through, and I'm going to get to work putting those in the jars. So I'm going to use my funnel so I don't make too much of a mess, and a ladle, and I'm just going to ladle into the jars, and I'm going to do my best to get it to about 1/4 of an inch from the top. A little more or less doesn't hurt anything, but that's what I'm going to do. And as I said before, I've heated the seals. I brought them to a boil. I give these a pretty good turn. I know they say today that you shouldn't screw your seals on, but again, I put them on, give them a good spin, and I don't have failures. So I don't know who came up with changing the rules about that, but I don't know, call me old-fashioned, I guess. These things worked so well in the past, I'm not sure why we have to keep changing them. So if you want to see how I'm going to prepare these to give for gifts, then do come follow along, because I'm going to run these through the canner, and when they've cooled I will do that, and I'll add that here as well. And I will see you soon. Well, if you've come back, that means you want to see what I have put together here for gift wrapping these beautiful little treats. First of all, I thought I would show you the jelly or the jam, and you can see how thick and beautiful it is once it's cooled, and it will set up, you know, over the next few days it'll set up even more. It's so good. It tastes like the holidays. I don't know if that makes sense or not. But anyway, I have the jars here, and I did go ahead and do up the last bit of it into a jar. So I got 8 pints. Sorry, 8 half pints. These are 1 cup jars. Then I've just done up the labels that come with the jars when you buy a flat of jars. It just says Christmas jam and the year on top. And I'm just going to stick them to there. I'm not sticking them to a tag because the tags will get taken off and then you may not know what's in the jar, so the contents would be unknown. So this way it stays with the jar. And then I found these little gift bags at the dollar store. Everything that I'm using for gift wrapping here is all dollar store finds, and I'm just going to break the little tab part off that it hangs by. It's got a little gift tag here you can fill out if you like, and I've got a little piece of paper. This is just a tiny bit. I'm going to fold it in half. And I'm going to put a jar more or less in the center of it. And just pull up the edges, and I am going to drop it down inside the jar. Sorry, inside the bag. And there we go. If you're just giving a gift maybe to the man who takes away your garbage, or somebody that comes by, like your Amazon driver or somebody like that, that you'd like to just gift a little blessing to, then you can definitely do something like this. Or I went over, same trip to the dollar store, and I found these little gift boxes. I think they're intended for cookies, but one of the things I discovered some time ago now was that these little gift boxes work really well for jars as well. They don't go down in there quite as far, I think, as the box intends, but if you're being generous and you're going to give 2 jars of jam, you can just put them down inside. You bring the top together and punch out the little slot in the side and bring that in and this in to catch both sides, and there you go. You can add to this, I have these little gift tags that look like a little Christmas card, and you can add your ingredients inside there, and I wrote the ingredients for the card on the back, and you can just attach it with a bit of string or a bright ribbon, and boom, you have a perfect little gift to give to somebody that you care enough about to have gone through this work. So I hope that you have enjoyed today's video on Christmas jam, and that if you have, you will consider subscribing to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. I'm working hard to get to 12,000 subscribers before Christmas is my goal, and I'm pretty close. So please subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, share it on your Facebook if you would be so kind, and like the video. And I hope that the rest of your day goes really well, and I will see you again soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.